Amino acids, again, if we're using them to build proteins, then the amino part, the NH2, is a key part of that. It links to the carbon here. You take off the OH there and join it up into the chain. But we can also take amino acid and take off that nitrogen, add a hydrogen, make ammonia, and then we're left with a keto acid that can be used for a variety of metabolic purposes, such as energy or building other molecules. Similarly, nucleic acids, those have nitrogens in them. And so breakdown of the individual bases, the purines, can be used to make uric acid. Okay, ammonia. All that's easy, that's just NH3. So quite simple to make that from the NH2 you broke off. You just grab another hydrogen somewhere. Very simple, not much energy to use, but ammonia is rather toxic. And so, to get rid of it, you can just quickly dump your nitrogen waste out to the environment. Again, too concentrated ammonia kills things. You can actually use ammonia to clean and kill stuff. If you have an aquarium and all the fish go belly up, too much ammonia is often the cause. But getting rid of ammonia, you're using a lot of water. If you live up on land, it is not practical to be urinating all the time. Also, you'd lose a lot of water if you did that. So land animals characteristically will process ammonia further, building more complex molecules. Building, so this is anabolic. We're using energy. Okay, so it uses energy, that's a disadvantage. But by making urea or uric acid, these are noticeably less toxic than ammonia. So you can have more of it in you before you have to dump it out. And also, you don't need to use nearly as much water to do the getting rid of it. So, as is typical for mammals, we produce primarily urea. In between there, not as much work to make as the uric acid, but we do have to use somewhat more water in getting rid of it. Making the uric acid, not surprisingly, that's more work than making just urea. But once you've done that, you can more or less just leave it sitting in your body as long as you like. And dumping it out needs only very little water. Uric acid can be excreted more like a paste rather than in urine the way we do with urea. As an example of uric acid, I'm sure you've encountered it. It may have potentially encountered you at some point. If you've ever been unhappy about a bird flying over. The white component of what that bird just left on your car or your hat or whatever is the uric acid, not runny in excreting the way typically for urea or ammonia would be. Okay, so how do you regulate your water levels and dissolve salts, things like that, maintain a balance? Well, if you live in the ocean, the amount of the chemicals around you for the ocean, for salts and water, is typically reasonably close to what's needed inside. And so marine invertebrates typically just go along with the environment. If they're in water that's a little less salty, their inside's a little less salty. If they're in water that's a little more salty, their insides are more salty. they're osmoconformers. They go along with the environment. They're not maintaining homeostasis in this regard. Now, of course, this does mean that if you stick them into fresh water or extremely salty water, they'll die. They're not able to regulate that particularly well, but in between, they maintain that. Those of us, however, who live in places where the level of water and salts around us are very different from what we want on the inside, we have to be regulating. Osmoregulation. For being on land like ourselves, terrestrial, well, we're losing water by evaporation. As we breathe out or speak, we are releasing air from inside us. That's picked up water from inside us, so we're losing air that way. Of course, also, from time to time, we have to go and lose water in getting rid of waste as well. And so we need ways of getting more water back in. But also, our excretory system tries to limit how much water we're losing, so we don't have to be getting more water all the time. So the excretory system is specialized to adjust how much salt, other substances are present in the body fluid, and then maintain that proper balance. So typically what an excretory system does, it will collect fluid from the body and process that, selectively returning the stuff that it wants to keep in the body, and maybe actually actively picking up waste to get rid of, and then those excess things will be released then from the body. In vertebrates, typically the main organ for this is the kidney. Invertebrates tend to have simpler but equivalent structures. Sometimes they basically do have a kidney. Often it's smaller, sometimes lots of smaller things, sometimes only a few, that have somewhat similar function. And of course, there are a number of invertebrates, especially small or thin ones, that just let the waste chemicals diffuse out of the body and do not have a specialized system for this. So the kidneys, or equivalent things, getting rid of that nitrogen waste, again, ammonia will kill you, so you want to get rid of excess there. And again, maintain the fluid balance. Adjust the levels of salt and water that are put out with the urine. We also have regulation of water levels with respiratory system. I just mentioned we're losing water for breathing, so the line of lungs or gills will be regulating that. Gills also can release dissolved stuff out from the body into the surrounding water. Skin, of course, one thing the skin does is help keep some of that water inside, keep us from evaporating. And the digestive system. Absorbing water from our foods, and you mentioned large intestine. One big thing it does a lot of is absorbing the water to dry out the feces as much as practical before they're released. If you live in the water instead of up on land like we do, fresh water, then the problem is around you has too little salt and too much water. So rather than saving water, you're getting rid of water and trying to hang on to those salts as much as possible. Typically, body surfaces, whether it's specialized gills or the general surface, will be releasing ammonia into the water from the body. Depending on the organism, some saltwater things. Ocean water may be saltier than what they want on the inside, and so they have to get rid of extra salt while maintaining enough water inside them. And again, get rid of the ammonia typically through the gills or the body surfaces. So on land, amphibians characteristically produce urea rather than ammonia, so able to hang on to water a little bit more. And you do have water reabsorption going on from the bladder region. Unlike amphibians, reptiles, and birds and mammals, our skin is more dry, better able at holding water in. But this also means that it's not so great for just dumping ammonia out through the skin. Excretion is urea in the mammals, uric acid in reptiles and birds. So we don't need as much water to dump it away as we would with ammonia. And kidneys play a big role in managing the water and salt. And of course, land also we need to get water, whether it's drinking water directly or the water that we get from our food. Not surprisingly, desert animals often have specializations, get more water out of their food.